So a variety of opinions from a variety of people directly impacted by this. Mark Davis, who is the owner of the Raiders, said, "I have no comment. Ask the NFL. They have all the answers." Bart, you're rolling your eyes. Go ahead. I'll give you the floor.
Because that's not leadership, right? What Carr said, what the player said was leadership. Like, that suggests that he doesn't have an issue with what was said and what was done, and he's saying ask the NFL. You're the owner. You're supposed to be the head of the table. You're supposed to be able to set the tempo, right? And it's nothing wrong with saying, hey, listen, he's my friend. It was a tough decision, but, that cannot be tolerated in this league. We're all about inclusion and everything that you stand for. Understand what your father stood for. Your father hired Amy Trask as the first woman CEO of your organization. Reggie McKenzie was a general manager, right? He was all about
Art Shell.
Yeah, Art Shell, first African-American coach. So you got to understand that you're trying to honor your loyalty should be to this organization and to your father, not to Jon Gruden. Jon Gruden has to go and figure out how to get himself right and live his apology if he's sorry.
Louis, I can hear you just a little bit off camera there. And for those who weren't watching, as this story was breaking, you guys were doing a game live on Monday Night Football, so you were reacting real time, obviously, while that was going on. Now that you've had a few days to reflect, I'll just give you the floor. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, like I said on Monday Night Football, man, it's to say it's disappointing is just the tip of the iceberg for me because, look, I think they asked Brandon Staley about this yesterday, if he had any comments about it. And when he said what he said, I was like, man, this is why I love Brandon, because I was talking to my wife about just what exactly should I say about this? How do I really feel? And I think the number one thing is, Brandon talked about the trust. The trust, basically, that he violated of, that people on his football team had put into him, the black players on that football team, the women who work in that organization, Carl Nassib. Carl Nassib asked for a day off and was granted a day off yesterday because here you have the first openly gay player in the NFL who, when we went out there and talked to the Raiders talked about how inclusive of an organization they are, how much they commended him for his strength and for his bravery and how many people he was going to help and how much they loved Carl for what he had done and how he had come out. Darren Waller talked about it. Max Crosby talked about it. And you just got this sense of, look, this is such a tightly knit group out here that obviously is being led and guided by people who truly believe in inclusion and diversity. And then you have this kind of stuff surface. And so now you're sitting there thinking, I myself as a black man, Carl Nassib as a gay player, all the women who work for the Raiders, you start thinking, who else is like this behind the scenes? Who else, when they turn their back on me and they walk away from me and we go our separate ways, are they saying the kind of things that were written in those emails? Who can I trust? Who can Carl Nassib trust? Who can any of the women that work for the Raiders or work in the NFL, who can they trust as far as to really be who they say they are when they are in their private time or they're emailing with one another? And that is just not that's a scary thing. And that's a way that quite honestly right now, for me personally, it makes me go, look, I had some very good conversations with Jon when he was my head coach in 1998 when I played for the Raiders and when I was working with him on the draft. And he is a guy who I respected. I respected for what he had done for me personally, as a player. I respected how he treated me when we were on the draft set together and we would talk about players, when I would talk about my career, when I talked about my career as a broadcaster, when I talked about, when people would come to me with opportunities and, to interview for general manager. I talked to him about all that stuff. So to hear him have this kind of dialogue with other people concerning, minorities, and this concerning all people who are marginalized in this country, that's heartbreaking, man. That's heartbreaking because now it's like, well, who can you trust? And I'm already a skeptical person anyway. So now it's really got me looking at people sideways going, man, you know what? Who is real and who isn't? And that's terrible. That's a terrible thing to have to deal with right now. And yeah. This is going to take a lot of processing on a lot of people's parts as how to move forward best from this and how the league should move forward best from this and how we can prevent this kind of thing from happening and how we can get people, acting and behaving in a much more responsible way.
Yeah, I think this, I think a lot of us have processed Jon Gruden to this point. know how he feels about people who are different than him that he doesn't like. I know how he feels about and refers to women in the football workplace. Mark Davis being absent, he's an absentee landlord. He had an opportunity to come out and speak on this. This may not have been his doing, but and him not being there makes me question the Raiders' workplace culture, because this can't happen on your watch and you're just nowhere. I also wonder what else is 650,000 emails. Where are the rest of them? The fact that this investigation into Washington's workplace culture, not a written report, it was just orally given to the league. What did it say? What did it find? Who else was Gruden talking to? Because in the conversations that I've had since, I have been told by people, executives in the league, that they have heard similar terms, ways of referring to people, similar to what Gruden said in their own buildings. So Gruden isn't the only one. And that's a problem that the league has to confront and acknowledge. That's well said. I have to leave it there for the moment. Obviously, this is a story that will continue to reverberate around pro football and well beyond for a long time to come. Thank you for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.